Hey guys, welcome to Blue Collar Hockey Talk. My name's Scott Feeney. We got Wes Atkinson here. We're going to be talking a lot of different hockey here. We're going to be talking Leafs. We're going to be talking about McDavid. We're going to be talking about Matthews and McDavid. A little bit more Matthews. We're going to be talking, Rasmus Sandin's luck. We're going to be talking West Coast Tim's thoughts. We're going to be doing some games to review. Wes, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, man. Lots of hockey to watch this week, eh? Quite the game against the Sens earlier this week, and they came back strong. And as we speak, they're playing right now, so hopefully they can win this one and make it a 2 out of 3, right? Win the rubber match.
Oh, big time, man. I mean, like, you ever want to see Leafland get set on fire? Well, they showed you what you got to do. They did it. The Leafs know how to do it, though, don't they?
They do. They do know how to lose in Leaf way. I think that's the best way to put it. Like, they can just do it in a way that you're never going to forget.
They make it memorable, man. Like, I mean, I'm talking to my dad. My dad's the worst for jinxing games, right? Like, it's at the end of the second period. They just made it 5-2. And he's like, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to watch Dateline. They got it in the bag. And my jaw dropped and just like, geez, Dad. So I was just talking to him now, and we won't go over the score, but it's similar situation. And I just said, you're not jinxing nothing right now. Don't even talk about the game.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, it's just don't jinx it. Don't do anything at all to put a hex on them or whatever. Because, man, only in Toronto can they be in first place in the division, in the NHL, lose, and people still complain about it.
I got to tell you, I really don't like the online forums. I've never really gone on them. I've always just watched and been my own two eyes, put my own 2 cents together. And I went onto the forums just to see what people are talking about, and it's just silly stuff on there, man. And after that kind of loss, like, you'd swear, like, they wanted half the team gone. I'm just thinking to myself, like, what kind of talk is this? Like, let's have some actual chit chat, because it was a garbage game. It hurt. It sucked. But it's one game in 56 this year, right? I mean, I'm not trying to downplay it, but let's not let it happen again. Like, I thought we were done with it. I think that's maybe why everybody's so thrown off by it, because we maybe thought we had matured beyond that kind of collapse, and it's just so familiar. It's almost like we haven't changed our spots. But I think that this group does have a different makeup to it, man. Like, the leadership's the core feels like they're really bought into it. And I think that game just shit hit the fan, man.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, man. And like that third period, it seemed everything that the Sens touched worked out well, and everything that the Leafs touched, it just didn't work. Like, how many times was there like a puck bouncing and a Leaf would try to just hit it to get it out of the zone and they would just whiff on it, right? Like that, and it would happen again and again and again. It was like a snowball effect, right? Like every single bad thing got magnified and it got worse and worse. And there were some goals that Freddie kind of should have had. That wasn't his best game. He won't claim to say it was his best game. Like, they were all a little bit off in that third period, and that's what happened. And like, Ottawa is still a professional team, and they have pride to play for. A lot of those guys want to be able to play next year if they're on one-year contracts, and those are young guys too that want to prove themselves as well. And there's guys like Connor Brown too that are awesome, awesome hockey players and character guys that are going to lead that team for a long time.
I mean, and he's going to play with a chip against his shoulder. Like, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Leaf fan, it is what it is. Like, the most eyes are on that game. The players know it. They get up a little bit more for it. We see the best version of teams, and we saw, like, as much as we want to say that there was a massive collapse by Toronto, let's give a little credit to Ottawa. Like, that was pretty unbelievable. And it's not like it's going to happen all the time. Like, holy smokes. They had 240 different times in their franchise that they were down by 4 goals or more, and that's the first time that they've ever come back. And they've been a first place team several years. They did that when they're a last place team against the first place team. It's hockey.
Yep.
And it happened against us. It happens against other teams. We just don't follow them as closely.
Yep. And you know what the thing is too? The Leafs still got a point out of this game. Right? Like, it's not like they just got blown out of the building with nothing to show for it. They still got a point. And like, that's all that really matters this season. We've talked about this before. I don't care if they finish first or fourth. They need to make the playoffs. and they need to win in the playoffs. This season won't be judged on what they do in the regular season.
No, not even close.
Oh, sorry, I was just gonna say, well, in that game, it was good to see Jumbo Joe return, eh? Like he just lifts the team right up when he's on the ice.
He does. I mean, like, to see that guy go out on the ice and almost get 20 minutes of ice time, the guy's got he's 41 years old. He's playing with youth in his legs again. He loves the game of hockey, and you can tell when a player loves the game of hockey, and that guy does. And yeah, you're right. Like, they got him to be a character guy and to be able to build that type of. Well, we needed to build the chemistry on our team. Well, I say that's a big check on that one, man. Like, good job.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's finish up talking about that game. Like, it was too bad what happened in overtime with that. Like, man, Riley, he just went to hammer that puck home, and it just got blocked by a guy who ended up taking it back and scoring on a breakaway. And that's what happens in overtime. You miss your chance, and the other team could capitalize. And it's 3-on-3, and it's hockey, like you said.
Well, I mean, like, and what was Riley supposed to do? Back away from that puck?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, can you imagine if he backed away and played it defensively? Like, that wasn't the play. Like, and the shot, like, give credit where credit's due. The guy got in front of the puck, and it gave them the scoring chance to win the game, and they did. I wish Anderson would have made the save. You know what? He didn't. C'est la vie.
Yep, exactly.
Got the point. We lost the game. It was a pretty rough game to watch. Left an awful feeling inside of my belly. Won't lie to you about that. But it's one game.
Yep.
One game. And they came back and won the next one, man. So anyway, we won't get into that one yet.
And you know what? I'm willing to say there will be another game this season that the Leafs lose horribly in. They haven't been blown out yet this year, and that happens to every single team somewhere along the line. Like, it is still 56 games. That's still a long time, and that's a lot of games. And man, if they play Edmonton, there's a chance there that like McDavid and Draisaitl could go Superman mode and just score a ton of goals, and Freddie gets pulled, and it just looks bad, right? And like you said, that's hockey, and it will happen. The Leafs will lose an ugly game somewhere along this year, and they'll just throw out the tape and move on.
It's inevitable. That's hockey, man. That's sports. That's why you can't just go to a bookie and keep betting on one team to win every game.
Yeah.
Like you say, they're not gonna. Some of them are gonna be ugly. Some of them are just gonna be ugly. Other teams are gonna come out hot. Whatever, man, and it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I hope not anytime soon. But
for sure. How about we move on to some news and notes here? Rasmus Sandin. God, what horrible luck this guy has. He played one game for the Leafs this year. He goes down to the Marlies for their first game, and his foot gets broken, and he's out indefinitely. This might end up being a wasted season for his development.
Yeah, I feel for the guy. I mean, like, it sucks because we wanted to see him play on the Leafs, and and then it's just, let's get him some ice time to be, so that you're not just sitting on the ready squad. You're right, man. Like, that's just awful luck. There's nothing to laugh about there. That sucks.
Yeah.
I hope he heals well, but you're right. It's a wasted season. And when he comes back, it's going to be just trying to get healthy.
Mm-hmm.
No longer trying to just fight for a roster spot. The goal has changed, and that sucks because he's got a pretty good ceiling to his game,
Yeah, he's the Leafs' #1 prospect right now, right? It's between him and Robertson. I'd say it's more likely Sandin because the Leafs defense, like, there's going to be some guys leave at the end of this year, and we're going to need some guys to step up into that spot, and it just sucks. Well, this weekend coming up, there's some outdoor games in Lake Tahoe. Saturday, there's Vegas versus Colorado, and then Sunday, Philadelphia versus Boston. I've seen some pictures, and man, it looks awesome. With no stadium around, you just get to see the Rockies from the view from one of the creases. It looks beautiful. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of wishy-washy on outdoor games. I've never been to one. I think it's really kind of getting gimmicky now. I don't know, how do you feel about them?
I don't know. Like, I like it if there's just the good old outdoor classic. But this year, it's a different year. Like, I say I think that it's really cool that they actually took the opportunity to embrace the fact that there's not a stadium full of fans or trying to sell 100,000 tickets in Michigan. They've got a chance to try to sell it as a as a product, and you have an unbelievable background for it. I think it's going to be really cool. I don't normally go to check out any of the stadium series or any of the outdoor games. I tune into usually on New Year's Day on their outdoor classic. I used to like to watch it a little bit, but Lake Tahoe, I mean, I've never seen that before. I'll watch it. I'll check that out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be worth like a look see every now and then. But like, man, there's just in regular season, there's too many of these things. The one that was in Toronto a few years ago, the Centennial Classic, I looked into going to it, and you think Leaf tickets are too expensive to begin with. That game, it was almost like double the price. And if you talk to anyone who's been to any of these outdoor games, you can't see anything. Hockey isn't designed to be played on a football field or a soccer field or a baseball field. And when you're sitting in those stands, like you're paying for the experience of being there with another like 50,000 yahoos just to have a good time and not actually sit there and watch the game. If you want to watch the game, you watch it from home.
That one was cold. That Centennial game, right? Like that was like -22 or something stupid out there.
Yeah, something
Oh
like
man,
that.
I don't know. It was, yeah, no. In all fairness, like, yeah, if we're actually talking about like what do I think about outdoor games, like I think that it's not. I don't think that it actually should happen in a regular season game. Like,
Hmm.
I think that if you're going to do an all-star game, do that as your outdoor game. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like something that doesn't actually count towards your stats or like I mean stats. I mean like to the standings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like because it's not you're playing on second grade ice. Like a little snowfall happening while you're playing hockey. It's really cool for television,
It is.
but it's strange if you're in a tight battle for, and like this season points count, man. Like these
Mm-hmm.
games, they matter, right? Like we're already
We're like a third
over
of
the
the way
quarter
into the
mark.
season. So it's like these
Yeah,
points do matter. And thankfully, the teams that are playing are, they were projected to be very good teams. And that's why they kind of got the nod to be playing. So it shouldn't really affect their outlook of the season, like if they're going to qualify for the playoffs or not. Yeah, I just think it's kind of gimmicky, but hockey's already sold me, right? Like I watch the Leafs. Like I don't need to watch the All-Star game or anything like that. So I understand that those are marketing gimmicks not aimed at me. It's an event for other people and to see the game in a different way other than on a Tuesday night at home on the couch.
I guess when push comes to shove, I've watched probably 3 full games of
Mm-hmm.
outdoor games. Like I say, I check out that New Year's Day, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. Lake Tahoe will be cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. How much the game I'll watch, I don't know, but I'll watch to see what the sight lines look like from the camera anyway.
There was some other news in hockey this week, and I think West Coast Tim wants us to talk about it. So what's he got to say?
Well, he kept it pretty short and sweet, but I don't think the chit chat will be short and sweet. So West Coast Tim says, "Who would you rather have on your team, Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid, and why?"
I would take Connor McDavid on my team 10 out of 10 times. What he can do is amazing. Like he is so fast. I don't think there's a better skater ever in the NHL. Like his speed and skill are unmatched. It's crazy what he can do to other professional like athletes. Like when he undressed Morgan Riley last year in overtime, like it was a tip of the hat. I had like, it's a respectable thing. Like it was amazing, and like I would take Connor McDavid every single time.
I get it. I mean, like he's that kind of talent that can turn a game on the head. I totally understand what you mean. But with that said, um, goals are something that I find come through hard work. And Austin Matthews has started to play a game really early in his career with a work ethic on both ends of the ice that um, he's able to not so much turn a game on the head, but his line controls the game while it's on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
And it demands respect from the other team. And I think it really throws them off. Like this guy is getting Jumbo Joe giving him compliments. I know we're only 18 games into the year. I'm not silly and giving out awards right now, but I'm just repeating what a future Hall of Famer player said, and he doesn't just hand out compliments like candy. He's a pretty straight shooting chum, as fun as he likes to be. And when he says that should get the Selke, the Hart, and would get the Rocket Richard Trophy, and he's on pace to doing that. Like his numbers are unreal. Um, he just passed Connor McDavid in goals. He's got one more goal, 172 to the 171, if my memory serves me right. And he did it in 71 fewer games. Did I get those numbers right? Did I butcher that?
That's pretty crazy, man. That I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought McDavid had more goals.
Yeah, I mean, but with that said, McDavid just made it to 500 points, where Matthews is still just over 300. Mm-hmm. So it's tough for me to stand here and say that I should take Matthews, but you know what? The way that I see him being able to handle Toronto, the way that I'm going to talk as a Leaf fan, and I'm going to talk as far as what the Toronto Maple Leafs needed. And I think that he's the kind of guy that had the attitude to be able to, I don't know, like it's a really neat vibe in the room right now. I know we lost it for a couple of years, but it was there when he got here, and it's there again. He's 23 years old, right? So it's pretty exciting to see it. I'll take Matthews on my team. And that's no disrespect to McDavid. And I mean, some people can say I'm foolish, but the shot that he's got comes from anywhere on the ice. Mm-hmm. And I like seeing that those two players spent time on the ice this offseason to try to build off of each other's skills. That's mad respect.
Oh, absolutely.
And yeah, like it's like comparing two great players in an era, and you could do that several times over the history of time, right?
I would think this debate is going to be the Ovi Crosby debate. They kind of came into the league shortly after each other. They're in big hockey markets. I guess those guys weren't really in big hockey markets when they came in, but like these are poster boys for the league. The only thing that's too bad about them is that they play in different conferences in a regular year, so we don't get to see them play head to head. It's going to be more like Gretzky and Lemieux, where they only play against each other a handful of times a year, and that's too bad. I don't think you can go wrong with either guy. Like I just think McDavid can do things that we have never seen before, and that's why I think I would take him. I do think McDavid is a bit of a victim of his team as well, because Edmonton just hasn't been managed as well as Toronto has, even though Edmonton's been more successful technically in the past few years. But the cast of characters around him are nowhere near as deep as Toronto, and that's including Draisaitl. I think Draisaitl is one of the best players in the league, but the thing is, after Draisaitl, there's a pretty big drop-off, and especially in net, they've never really had an amazing top-tier number one goalie, and I think the win-loss record of Edmonton really does tarnish what Connor McDavid can do.
Yeah, no, I can hear what you're saying. I mean, one of the things that I would like to see is, and I mean, I don't have the stat in front of me, and I'll look it up later, but something to maybe check out would be, points per time on ice, right? Mm-hmm. Because the amount of ice time that McDavid gets, like they rely on him mm-hmm. like no other player in the league. No other player in the league. And it's not just because he's the best player in the world. It's because Edmonton has just done it wrong.
Yeah, they don't have the depth. Man.
Right. And I mean, I've wished that they would, just as a fan of hockey, like give him something so we can see magic happen. So he can do so much, but he's on the ice for half an hour some nights, mm-hmm. like last 6 minutes of games. Like, of course, you're going to get up some more points. So that would be something I'd like to see. So with that said, that's why I say Matthews could be a candidate for me to take over McDavid, because if you look at impact per shift, every time you hop over the boards, I bet you it's pretty close to actually being able to put up a point on that board, and if I saw right, Matthews is top 10 in the league, and probably better than that. I'm being conservative on that in takeaways. And you had mentioned that to me. I read that in an article earlier today, and you can't say enough about how his game has evolved, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do think it's so awesome to be a Leaf fan where we're talking about comparing a guy on the Leafs to the best player in the game right now and being like, who would you rather have, McDavid or him? It has been how long? Like, I have no idea how long it's been since the Leafs have had one of the top 5 players in the league on their team. Like, maybe Gilmore when he was up for, I think when he was up for one of the awards way back when, but it was again he was going against Lemieux, and everyone knew Lemieux was going to win it anyway. But like it has been so long, and it's so nice to be a Leaf fan and be like, we have one of the best centers in the league on our team.
Hey, hear me on this one. So like Ovechkin, in his first 4 years of hockey, like I looked it up, it's like 323 games, but like his goals per game is 0.62. Matthews is 0.58 through the same ballpark of games. All right. That's some seriously unbelievable company, seeing as what people are regarding Ovechkin as. And that's one of the best or maybe the best goal scorer of all time.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's hope that Matthews can go anywhere near that. Like, he's got a long way to go before we can start talking about that. But it's still refreshing. That being said, I will still take McDavid on my team over Matthews.
Yeah, all right, buddy. You know, like we should probably review a couple of games. I mean, we already talked about pretty in depth about some of those Senators games. I mean, I don't know how much more you want to go into that there, Wes. I'm going to let you lead us on that.
Sure. Well, like you said, we already talked about the 6-5 overtime loss. Let's go into the 2-1 win. Man, there was a lot of pressure on the first place team to come back and win against the last place team. They ended up winning 2-1. Like, they won. You know, I think they felt the pressure, and watching that game, you could kind of tell that they were a little tentative and they were not being as aggressive as they usually are. That being said, they also played well defensively. They didn't give Ottawa a lot. Anderson played way better in that game than the first game against Ottawa. Like, how did you see it?
I saw as they came out, you know, in the first period, you know, like I was starting to get a little worried, you know, because they were getting outshot 10-5 at one point, right, man? So I'll tell you though, there's one guy that we just talked about a whole lot, and when Matthews put the goal up on the board, it just sparked a little bit of life into the team, you know, and you could feel them come to life a little bit more. They really had to grind out the win. I would never call it a masterpiece, but it was important. Like as silly as it sounds, it was just important to get that win, because you never want anything to snowball. Just nip stuff in the butt, right? And so you're in first place going into the night. Yeah, you lost a nasty one. You just got to win this one. Go in, come out with 2 points, and they did that. And I felt like as long as you can get that hurdle off, it makes game 3 that much easier to get on the ice for.
Like, I felt going into this 3-game set against Ottawa, they needed to get 4 out of the 6 possible points for me to be satisfied with how they played. And I was like, 4 out of 6. Ottawa's a professional team. You can't take them for granted. You know, so that's what I would have been happy with. At the end of this game, they still had 3 out of 4. But you could tell that there was just this sense over, like, Leaf Nation of, that wasn't good enough, right? And they're coming out strong tonight against Ottawa, so hopefully they can get 5 out of 6, which is better than what I wanted. So that'd be, you know, then we're going to look back at this next week and be like, yeah, they got 5 out of 6 from Ottawa. Great. And we're moving on to the next thing that's whatever is troubling Leaf Nation.
You know what's going to be coming up soon, and I'm not going to go into it too far right now, but like, and I'll just bring him up quick. I'd like to see, like, I mean, and it's not, see, here I go. I was going to say a complaint, but like JT, imagine we're in first place and JT isn't really going, you know. Johnny Toronto is sitting, he's getting his chances. They're going to go in, but like, you even look at the score sheet tonight, there's a lot of goals on the board. I don't think I see his name on the score sheet yet. So, and I'm not saying anything against him. He draws some seriously good minutes, but Jumbo Joe in that game against Ottawa, the second game, I know that he scored a pair of goals and they got waved off, but like what he came to the team was to be able to pick them up. And I feel like that first goal where it was against the pad and he pushed it into the net, you know, even though it got waved off, I felt like it was very symbolic. You know, it was like, all right, boys, let's go. I'm going to help you push through. You know what I mean? Like, and it felt like that things just kind of started to turn a little bit there. He brings a lot to the game, a lot to the game.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I think he is a great addition. I heard on the broadcast, and it was a really good point about how much he doesn't move. Like, man, he will play a minute and a half shift, and he's just around the net, and which is really smart. You know, like he is he is good at what he does. Like he is a good passer, and he has really good offensive skills and instincts. So if that line is pushing and pushing and pushing in the offensive zone, keep him out there. But as soon as you're coming back across to defend anything, you better be taking him off the ice and putting on someone else, you know, who's willing to dig for the puck, like Hyman or, you know, somebody else that is just going to be a little more attention to detail. Because Thornton's here to score, right? Thornton isn't here to rally the guys in their own defensive zone and tell them like dig in, get pucks out of here and stuff like that. Like that's not what he's here for.
No, I know. I get that. You know, and it's awesome. And I love how we're treated with having such a dynamic duo playing with him. We have Marner and Matthews playing with Joe Thornton right now, man. Leafland, take a step back and just say that out loud to yourself. Holy smokes. We have the leading goal scorer in the league by not just a couple goals. Like he's doing unbelievable things. Like we're getting close to goal per game pace, you know? Like it's magic that we're watching, and we got Joe playing on that line. We got Mitch doing magic. This is good times, man. I'm having a good time.
100%, man. And I think that's the best way to look at it is like have a good time. There were some dark years in Leafland, man. Like we went a decade without making the playoffs, and there were some bad teams in that decade where we were promised that they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to do well. Like we could, between the two of us, I guarantee we could rhyme off a couple of guys that were just disappointments or didn't work out or got injured. And like I don't even want to get into this dark place because we aren't.
I was
going to
say Antropov and Ponikarovsky was our top line, man. But anyways,
like we should be happy about where we are right now and that we are in first place. Like when we lost that game the other night, like I was upset about it, but at the same time, like they're still in first place, man. Like it's just water off a duck's back. Like let's keep it going, play the next game, and they won the next game, and we're still talking about this game. Hell, they're playing a game right now, and we're still talking about this game. How about like, Connor McDavid, man? He had a big night the other night. Well, you pointed this out here. How will you take this one about his 500th career point?
I thought this was a really neat stat. You know, like you had said, like you can't really compare. You're not going to compare Connor McDavid to Wayne Gretzky or to Mario Lemieux, and that's just purely respect to Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux. Nothing against Connor McDavid. Let us get to that point. But for now, let's say what an unbelievable comparison it would be to Sidney Crosby. You know, like McDavid got his. Okay, I got to read this. I don't want to get this wrong. So Connor McDavid got his 500th career point in game 369 against the Winnipeg Jets on February 17th. Sidney Crosby, how many games do you think he played to get his 500th point there, Wes?
369.
That's a correct answer. It's the same number, man.
Yeah.
They both got their 500th point in 369 games. And I mean, that's a great comparison. And I think that's a hell of a compliment because Sidney Crosby is a generational player and it's going down as a great. You know, that's a great pace to be on.
Do you think it's fair to compare him to Crosby though? Like Crosby has how many gold? Like he has how many gold medals? 2 gold medals, 3 cups, like World Junior Gold. Like I don't know. That's a lot to really be comparing a guy to.
No, I'm not. And with saying that, no, you can't do that. I'm comparing it as far as a per game. What he can do. And I think that what you said earlier with him being a product of a poor team, Crosby had some pretty decent teams. I'm not saying that it was amazing, but he did have some pretty decent teams, man.
He did have amazing teams. They won the cup 3 times. So he's been on some amazing teams.
But what I'm saying is that, like, do you think that Crosby did, like, could they have done that without him? And I mean, in all fairness, when he was out with the concussion, Malkin won the Hart Trophy that year. You know, so So with that said, yeah, they did have some pretty amazing teams. So McDavid versus Crosby, it's hard to compare because without actually winning something, it's just like the argument of, does a player deserve a contract without winning a playoff round? We're not saying that right now. Sorry for doing that. But like, yeah, no, Crosby has proven to be able to get it done, but he's been on a team that has also been able to support him to complete the mission. And I think that, like, look at Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, he was great in Pittsburgh, man. Like, he had some solid years. He was a playoff clutch performer.
Yeah, like,
Connor McDavid has had none of that type of luxury.
Exactly. And that goes to, like you said, to my previous point. Like, Edmonton just hasn't built a good enough team around him to really sustain success. And that's not his fault, man. Like, that team is on McDavid's back. I do think it is an unbelievably high bar to compare McDavid to Crosby 1-to-1. I think it is, though, fair to compare them based on, like, offensive numbers, because I think McDavid is a better offensive player than Crosby. So I think he should be able to beat him in points and goals at the end of his career. Like, as long as he's healthy all the way through and he has the opportunity to play as much as Crosby has, I do think that is a really good benchmark when it comes to those types of stats. And McDavid should be able to win just as many, if not more, individual awards than Sidney Crosby, I think.
How many games do you think it took Mario Lemieux to get to 500 points?
It wasn't even like 300, right?
It's insane. 287 games. Wayne Gretzky was 234. And I mean, Paul Stastny was 322. I mean, that's pretty, those are unbelievable numbers. But 234 and 287 games, man. Like, Gretzky was over 2 points a game.
Yeah. It's crazy. Eh? It's just, that's the best way to put it. It's just simply crazy. Yeah. Like, those stats will never, ever be touched again. Before we move on to This Day in Hockey talk, though, let's talk about the last show, This Day in Hockey. We talked about Ace Bailey's number 6 being the first NHL jersey number to be retired. One of our subscribers pointed out that Ron Ellis switched to number 6 with the blessing of Ace Bailey, because Ace Bailey asked the Leafs to offer it to him. I didn't know that. I think that's pretty cool.
I had no idea of that. I love things like that. Yeah, that's really cool. Thanks. Thank you very much for pointing that out to us. That's a really cool one, man. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
Yeah, I encourage like all of our subscribers and listeners, if you know any cool hockey stats and trivia like that, like let us know, because we definitely appreciate that type of stuff.
Listen, we're hockey fans just like the rest of us, and I mean, I love learning new things. That's cool. No, I had no idea. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, this day in hockey history, in 1918, George Vezina of the Montreal Canadiens became the first goalie in NHL history to earn a shutout. It was 9-0 victory against the Toronto Maple Leafs. The NHL's third month of play in the league's first season. I guess maybe they weren't even the Maple Leafs then. I'm not 100% sure. But, man, of course it was against the Toronto team.
Of course it was. Of course it was. I mean, why wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
The Leafs have been on the wrong end of a bit of the record books over the years, man.
That's it. Yeah, I got a chuckle out of that, and I thought it deserved a lower bit of talking about, especially after the week we've had. Let's talk about the upcoming game this weekend against Montreal. Montreal's had the week off. How do you think they're going to do on Saturday?
You know what? I mean, at first I was thinking to myself, like, my goodness, how are they getting that kind of rest? Like, good for them. Like, that is good for them. But in all fairness, like, if the Leafs hold on to how it's looking right now, we're going into that game. So I think it's 8 points that we'd be going up against Montreal. That makes their week off. Like, I get it. They got 3 games in hand. I get it. But if Edmonton wins their game, they leapfrog them. And I get it. Games in hand. But you got to win those games.
Yep.
And it makes that game against Toronto for them as much as a must win as they're going to have if they want to keep in the heat with them, you know, like, because 10 points is starting to get a bit of a gap, you know. So this week off, I think that it's put nothing but a little bit of pressure onto them. Yeah, they'll be rested, but with a little pressure on their game.
And yeah, I think Montreal's a good team too. I think the rest will probably be good with them because they're gonna know how important it is, like you said, to not fall too far behind the other teams, right? Like they can't just sit around and hope that they're going to pick up some wins against some other teams. Like they need to keep fighting against Toronto. I do think the Leafs are going to win this game though, because I think the Leafs did learn a bit of a lesson this week against Ottawa, and I don't think they play Ottawa very many more times the rest of the season. I think it's only 4 more times. So every other opponent is going to be it's going to be harder to beat than Ottawa for the rest of the year out.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. I mean, these games against Montreal, they're only going to get more important. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun to see, man. Like there's some really good hockey taking place now. I mean, people can chirp the North Division all they want, but it's fun hockey, man. Like this is insane. Hell, we just watched a game this week where the Leafs blew a 5-1 lead. Like that's pretty wild hockey.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It'll be fun against Montreal. I'm looking forward to the game.
Yep. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up, or are we all good for today?
No, I just want to say, Wes, I really appreciate what you're doing to the show here, man. You put in a lot of work, so thanks a lot, man. None of this could happen without you. And viewers, if you're liking this video, click like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And yeah, if you've got little fun facts you want to put underneath our videos, want to let us know things, if you want us to talk about something, give us a holler. We're all ears, man.
Well, I think that's it for tonight. So, go Leafs, go.
Go Leafs, go, buddy.